Welcome back. It's nothing new for Hong Kong to be a city of refugees. The vast majority of its residents are the descendants of refugees, one way or another, and we became a centre for the boat people after the Vietnam War. But not so well known is the fact that the influx continues today, with people from Southeast Asia or from even further afield in African countries coming here to claim refugee status. As they wait for their status to be confirmed, they remain in limbo, and now some are protesting about their living conditions.
So how long have you overstayed?
We are here to tell you that the ISS, your trust to give the taxpayer money to help these poor refugees.
2.8億嘅錢，即係佢哋話呢個係佢哋同 ISS 之間嘅秘密咯。咁你用咗2.8億係公帑嚟嘅，你去資助俾一間私營嘅公司，然之後就話呢啲錢即係我哋香港人係冇權去睇下呢條數係點樣嘅，呢個係極之不負責任咯。
International social service providing expired food. Most of the food don't have an issue date or expiry date, and the food's supposed to be covered $1,200, but it just covered $600 to $700. So one person, individual, how they can survive with $600-700 food, which is half of them is already expired.
What water drinking? No have water. Why? Only one time a packet gave juice.
This is the lamp that they use to warm up the chickens during winter. There's a thermostat here to regulate it, and this is proof that in this area that is now the kitchen, they used to have chickens. Yeah, so what you see here is basically just a metal box. It's a container built inside this abandoned chicken farm without windows, without ventilation, without aircon. So you can imagine it's super cold in the winter and it gets baking hot in the summer. So these are not acceptable living conditions. And the layout is such that if you take a picture of the bed, you might think this is an acceptable room, but actually within the context of this particular abandoned chicken farm, you see that it's a very inhuman conditions.
How long you have been in this living condition?
Around 1.5 years. Yes.
Do you expect you came to Hong Kong live in this sort of living condition?
No, because why, this is, you see, always scared. This is like jungle area, every day, every night sleeping, scare about snack, anything, small something coming in bed like this, so can't sleep, cannot anything do properly, You
see the toilets.
Last year, the refugee rights group Vision First exposed to the public what is described as the appalling living conditions of many refugees in Hong Kong. The organization claims that ISS Hong Kong is failing to meet its contractual obligations with the Social Welfare Department.
But what we found investigating the ISS contracts for the last 2 years is that ISS knowingly accepts bogus addresses on their own agreements for service to asylum seekers and torture claimants, where the ISS caseworkers has visited an actual home, but they will accept on a contract an address that is different from the one where they physically have visited the refugees. Or in some cases, the address is shown as a letterbox.
The rental, they're putting people in the chicken farm and pig farm out of the city because they don't want to pay that $1,500. And where the money goes? For the chicken farm and pig farm, they're paying $700–800, and the rest of the money go to the ISS caseworker, go to the landlord, and go to the agency.
International Social Service, which is headquartered in Switzerland, has branches in more than 100 countries. The Hong Kong branch was set up in 1958. The patron of the agency is the chief executive's wife, Regina Leung. DAB party chief, Tam Yu Zhong, is on the board of directors. The Post asked Mr. Tam to comment on the concerns of the refugees. He asked us to talk to ISS chief executive, Mr. Stephen Yao. Mr. Yao has turned down any meetings with the media and says that his organization is presently suing Vision First for publishing defamatory information on its website. The ISS headquarters says it will not intervene in allegations against its branches unless criminal charges are brought. The police and the ICAC have been asked to investigate. The Social Welfare Department says it will not take any action unless those investigations reveal there is a need to do so.
The government also need to deploy their civil servants to overlook and or to keep a close eye to ISS, and I think it's not a good system anyway. And alleged corruption emerged. I think it's time for we to change the whole system.
If our government is adamant that they would not like to do much because of, I don't know why, but they're so concerned perhaps that by improving the system, a lot of people would come to Hong Kong and claim to be refugees. They might attract a lot of asylum seekers. I'm afraid that's just the wrong approach. You know, at the end of the day, what we need to do as an international city here in Hong Kong, we should treat everybody, you know, as human beings. We should treat them fairly. You know, what we have in Hong Kong is really worse than a third world situation sometimes.
More than 10 years, you know. So how come I'm just always begging and asking, and I'm always depend to another department? ISS, I call to ISS, buy for them ice cream. I call to ISS, buy for them something chocolate. Of course not. So if I'm independent, I can work, I can take care of my children, I take care of my wife. It's very common, you know, it's normal. Like it's normal people, I can pass my life. So it's very hard.
And I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. Don't forget that if you missed past the show, want to see more, or even to see it again, you can always go to the Pulse page on the RTHK website.